Hello and welcome to the 4.4 Abyss review. The new Abyss has been out for a couple of days, which is the usual time I give an Abyss to gather thoughts and try it out, but this one honestly didn't need it. Overall, this Abyss can be described in one word, which was easily, you could easily see it before it even came out, but from day one I knew it. This one word is cancer. This Abyss is not hard, but MiHoYo made sure that you will get pissed off playing it. Let's get into the details to see why that is. Starting with floor 11, in general, this might be the easiest floor 11. I mean, for long-time players and anyone that is focused on building their characters, right, and knowing the ins and outs of the game, all floor 11s are easy. But this one is a joke for anybody. Floor 11 starts with a monolith defense, and as said, this is without a doubt the easiest one. The first half contains regular-ass hilichurls that spawn in waves of 3. With one Metatroll and then 2, ranged ones. Just unfathomably easy. And the second half contains small slimes that spawn all around the monolith. I don't have any advice for 11-1. This is unfathomably easy. Unless you bring only level 1 characters, there is no way to fail this chamber. Bring anything you want. On 11-2, the first half contains 2 Geoviscaps and 2 Bathysmal Viscaps. Very easy to kill with any team. For the second half, it's some slimes and 2 abyss mages, and they have it so you can swirl the slimes to destroy the mage shields. Yeah, they made the second half for Xian Yun, but this is a joke, man. Pyro and Cryo are the shields, so at most bring the necessary counters for the abyss mages. And last on 11-3, first half has 2 flying ruin drakes that spawn together, one in front of you and one in the back. You don't need a bow for these because their tail is low enough to hit them there, and some abilities like Xingqiu's swords can stun them, but it's not necessary. And on the second half is a bunch of treasure hoarders and 4 mirror maidens that spawn individually. The maidens can be tanky, especially if your main source of damage is Hydro, but if not, they are a cakewalk in floor 11. And that's floor 11. You can see why it is a joke. It's just a joke of a floor. I think they tried to sell Xian Yun a bit too much on this floor, and since she doesn't build for damage, she builds for supporting, they put really weak enemies in the second halves in order for her to kind of deal damage, I guess, with her own plunging attacks. But the enemies are way too weak, so it's up until the mirror maidens. But usually you'll bring a Xian Yun with another character for plunging, so it's okay. Yeah, so floor 11 is unfathomably easy. Generally, no super advice like previously. Now for floor 12. I will split it not in chambers, but in halves, because they are made to be similar to fit a team comp in each half, well, sort of. All halves, each of the halves are very, very, very similar with each other, so it's better to review them as such. So floor 12's first halves are all low number, easy elite enemy chambers. They contain up to a maximum of 4 enemies, spawning in waves of 2, as they are made to sell Xian Yun and Xiao, which will do fine against these because of AoE plunging attacks. 12-1's half has 2 construction mechas, followed by 2 alien primuses that are Dendro. Fairly easy to beat up with many team comps, and unless you run a mono Geo or mono Anemo team, the primuses should not be a problem. Just be careful with Pyro self-applying, not to get burning on yourself through the primuses. But yeah, the construction mechas, they are cryo, so be careful. It can be annoying because of the attack speed reduced, but they're just very easy to kill. Just one at a time, should not take you a lot of time, and then the primuses are the same. They spawn very close to each other, so any AoE again will just delete them. On 12-2, there are 2 groups of Eremite Spirit Spawners, again on 2 groups of 2. And both of the groups spawn in the same place in front of you. The first group is the Anemo Lady and the Crocodile Guy, while the second group is the other 2 variants, the Hula Hoop Lady and the other lady with her Catalyst, I think. They are Dendro and Pyro, so again the main thing is burning. Because both of the groups spawn next to each other, AoE destroys them and takes care of their summons as well. Single target also will do well, but a bit slower than using AoE. But all in all, there have been many Abyss chambers like this one, and they are usually not hard to beat, even on previous Abysses. And on 12.3, both groups are Fontaine mechas. Just like the Eremites, they spawn in the same spot and are even easier than the Eremites. They at least have their spirits and own attacks causing chaos, while the mechas don't. You can see how all of these halves are geared for Xianyun and Xiao, but you don't need them at all. If the enemy numbers were greater, then they would be more needed, since plunging attacks are, of course, I said, easy AoE damage, but with just groups of 2, their significance drops quite a lot. Even again, as I said, single target will easily take care of them. It's just a bit slower than that. As for Gaming, actually, since he is the other new character, I tried him out in these halves, and he performed excellently, since they are made for him, even without Xianyun. Although having a C6 Furina does make things hard in correctly estimating Gaming's power here, but he easily hit 100k plus vapes, which is amazing. I used the classic general buffers for his team, but it's exactly what he needs. I will review him, by the way. But yeah, like his teams usually are just general buffers. So yeah, Furina, Bennett, and Kazuha. And even with as said, without Xianyun, which would replace Kazuha, he performs really well. So you can snatch him up from the banners if you want, or Lantern Right, so you can get him for free, and he will do very well in the Abyss if you want to test him out and see and be in an Abyss that he can perform really well. Now comes, though, the second halves. They knew very well why they made the first halves very easy, because they decided to give us almost the most annoying boss triple threat. 12.1 contains the Ruin Serpent, 12.2 is the Winut, and 12.3 is the Aeon Blight Drake. Thankfully the Wolf Lord isn't here, but the 2 Worms and the Drake that needs a bow is a horrendous combo. And that's why I said at the beginning that this Abyss is cancer. Not because it's hard, but because these 3 bosses are extremely annoying to fight. Yes, they have been in the Abyss before, but that doesn't make them less annoying to fight. So for the Ruined Serpent, you're gonna need to learn the attacks to know when to attack yourself. The best one is when it sticks its tail to the ground. That's the most amount of time you will get. But there is another attack that can allow you to stagger it, but it is so unreliable to trigger. So at one point, it will start charging up an orb. This attack also raises its resistances very high, so don't waste stuff while it's doing that attack. But you can hit it somewhere and it staggers the boss. And I think it's supposed to be its body where it glows, but as I said, it is so inconsistent on if your attacks will count and stagger it, that I don't suggest betting on using that to defeat the boss. If you can find a reliable way to trigger the stagger, then that's cool, but from my experimentation, I have seen, say, Zhongli's Meteor trigger it instantly, right? Throw a meteor, it got staggered, and when I tried using it again, it didn't. So it can be a very big matter of luck on if this thing will get staggered. For the Winut, I hope you have a non-Geo or Anemo bow character to use, because most likely you will not kill this thing until it reaches the Anemo orb attack, and the easiest and main way to hit these orbs is with a bow. There are abilities such as Raiden's skill that can hit the orbs, but the bow character is nice because you will use them for the Aeon Blight Drake. But yeah, the Winut is a bitch. It barely appears for you to hit it. When it does the laser attack, it always spawns as far away from you as it can, and even when you stagger it during the Anemo orb attack, it's for a very small amount of time. I bet many teams can't even do a full rotation during the stagger period. It's a very annoying boss, and all teams do exactly the same against it, because it just doesn't give you time to hit it. And finishing with the Drake, just bring a bow character, that's all. Just like the Winut, there are some abilities that can hit its wings, but just make it easy for yourselves and bring a bow, preferably again, not a Geo or Anemo, because they don't work on the Winut. After you bring the Drake down, it's just a tankier normal Ruin Drake, and remember to stun when it charges up so that it doesn't get resistances. That's the 4.4 Abyss. 10 minutes. Floor 11 is an absolute joke, and the first half of floor 12 are also extremely easy, but they are that way because the second halves are full of very, very, very annoying bosses. You don't need to roll for any of the characters in the current banners, which for right now is Xianyun, Nahida, and then it's going to be Xiao and Yaemiko. You don't need these guys. Even if the Abyss is somewhat honestly tailored for them, not mostly, it's somewhat tailored for them, they don't change how easy or annoying beating this Abyss is, compared to previous ones, that's for sure. Thanks for watching the video. Like the video if you liked it, sub to the channel to help it out, and follow me on Twitch. Next up, is either going to be the version review, since Lantern Rite, the main event, has just started. But I will wait a bit for some other events to also show up in order to fill in a bit of time. But we also do have Chenyu Vale to explore, so we are gonna be reviewing Chenyu Vale. But it's not gonna be a lot, reviewing just the region and the main event. So again, I'll wait for some of the sub events to show up, and then we're gonna do the version review. So if that's not going to be the next video, it most likely is going to be, as mentioned, Gaming's character review. Rolled a bit on the banners to maybe get a Faruzan Khan or him, and I snatched them up. And then I guess I'll get a Constellation on Lantern, right? But I was able to farm for him really quickly and then test him out in the Abyss as mentioned. So we can do a review on the guy. He as a spoiler, he seems pretty fun. Anyways, see ya.